What's up, everybody? I'm DJ Sixsmith. Welcome to Sit Down. Jill Hennessy here with us. City on a Hill Season 2 coming to Showtime. Jill, nice to meet you. How are you?
So good to meet you, man. I think I can hear your puppy Maya in the background too, right?
That is my puppy, Maya. Yep.
I'm a fan, man. Okay, nice.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm a big fan of your work, and I was a big fan of City on a Hill Season 1. So we got Season 2 coming now. What has this whole experience been like for you?
It's been such a joy, and particularly this season too, with the world pandemic, with everything that's going down, culturally, socially. I mean, this show has literally just kept my head together, and working with people that I dearly love, and even from season 1 to just to be part of this, working with Tom Fontana and Kevin Bacon and Aldous Hodge, Lauren Banks. The cast is phenomenal, but the writing is so on point. You don't have to worry about memorizing your lines, man, because you get your scripts. I'm sitting in front of my computer, I'm running lines with my kids, and it's so real, it's so authentic. Especially in this year too, this season, we're really dealing with a lot of issues and a lot of voices that need to be heard, that even though the show is set in 90s Boston, it is so on point for what's going on now. And they've moved a lot of the action from Charlestown to Roxbury. And with the introduction of Pernell Walker's character, who plays Grace, who's a community activist, they're bringing in just a really necessary point of view and a slice of life that we really need to see, that I don't think we've seen before in a lot of films and TV shows that are focused on the Boston story.
It's funny how some things don't really change, even if it's the 90s compared to 2021. And when it comes to the show and just you playing Jenny, like there's a lot of different layers here to who she is as a woman, to her marriage with Jackie and the complexities of him. So what was it like for you to just really dive into all that here?
Well, it literally gave me something to look forward to, knowing I had a kissing scene with Kevin Bacon.
That's a bucket list one, right?
I am not joking, especially in the time of COVID. I'm thinking, this is love in the time of COVID, and kudos, by the way, to production team, the crew, and the cast. I mean, our COVID protocols were so good too. And everybody was so committed to it because we were just so happy to have a job. We were so happy to be working. But yeah, it was, it's a joy to play this character, man, because she's just one open wound, trying to heal itself. And at the end of last season, she basically confronts the sexual abuse that she'd gone through as a kid, had blocked it out for her whole life. And here she is, an adult woman, married to this psychotic, corrupt FBI guy. And, and also sort of taken responsibility in her mind for what had happened, the abuse of her daughter at someone else's hands. So this season, she finds herself, going to therapy, trying to help her daughter with Al-Anon. And it's interesting. There's a few themes throughout the show for all the characters of recovery, of self-help, of parenting, of growth, and people driven to desperation, doing things they don't want to do, second guessing themselves. And for my character, I got the lightest storyline, man. I'm so happy. I mean, I get to sing. I'm like, Jenny, she's sort of trying to find the kid that she lost in herself, and singing is one of those ways of doing it. And she's fighting her fear of singing, and she actually kind of comes out and sings for herself, which sounds like such a small thing, but for this character, it's the world. So.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the singing. I've heard about it, and it's obviously something that's in your life, but what was it like to put it forth in this show here?
It was terrifying. It really is, because I still have my little voices of criticism in my head, for, being a kid, or then coming to this city and hearing people with these Broadway, beautiful musical voices, which I just don't have, man. I mean, I came to this country with a musical, but I got the part in the musical because I play guitar and I sing Buddy Holly stuff, like old rock and roll, man, rockabilly and, Cure tunes from the 80s, Indigo Girls, Tracy Chapman, and that's how I found my voice. But that seemed like a different world for me. So I was honored that when Tom Fontana suggested this storyline, which actually leads Jenny my character into a relationship with somebody that's coming up in a couple episodes, which brings us to another very potent and disturbing issue that was going on in Boston at this time. No spoilers, but yeah. So the singing kind of leads us in a few interesting directions, but it was so much fun, terrifying, but thank God the crew was so supportive, man.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that. You mentioned how what's been going on in the country informs this show, and it informs even what was going on in the 90s. What do you think we can learn from this show, given what has happened with COVID, with racial injustice, just everything we've experienced here in this country the last year or so?
Yeah. Well, let's see. From this show, and again, I'm so impressed with how the writers have managed to give voice to so many of the voiceless. And if anything, this show, one thing I've always credited it with is it being so loud in its racist voices and its corrupt voices, its misogynistic voices. And my character, I guess, is just the incredibly insecure, self-defeating, fractured voice, but still trying to grow. And I think what we can learn from this too, and I always love this. This is what to me makes good filmmaking, good television, good storytelling, is when you allow the audience to empathize. You give them a lens through which to see life, and you put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And I know I'm being very simplistic, but the writers have done such a tremendous job of that this season. And you're seeing a spectrum of characters, different colors, different backgrounds, driven to different actions, and asking viewers to look at that and say, okay, here's a person you might not expect. This is what they're doing. How would you have judged them if maybe their skin was a different color? How would you have judged them if they came from a different background? So it's wonderful to watch because it invites the viewer to question themselves in a certain way.
Well, Jill, I'm really looking forward to this one. It's been marked on the calendar for a long time. Really nice to meet you. Thanks so much, and best luck with everything going forward, all right?
Oh, thank you so much, DJ.